Hi, in this video, I'll be talking about CSS grid. So specifically in this part of the part one of the video, I'll be talking about CSS grid container. So the first thing we will do is to create our file. I'll name it grid.html. So like CSS grid layout makes it easier to design a very responsive web page without having to use float or positioning, just like it's just like flex as well. So you don't have to use float or positioning, and it comes in rows and column. So it often has 12 columns and has a total weight of 100%, just like that of screen size, right? Your system screen size. And to make an HTML element behave as a grid container, you have to set the display property to grid or inline grid. So I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. So the first thing we'll do is to create, I'll name it CSS grid, CSS grid. Right here, I'm going to have my dot grid dot grid, sorry, grid container. Right. So in the container, I want to have five items, five div items. That is the um that is the items for grid items. Grid items. Right. I want to have grid items. So you can actually put it in just div, not necessarily giving it a class name, right? But it depends on what you want to achieve, and it depends on how you want to. So how you want to do it. So I'm just going to use a text generator to generate some text. Yeah. So I'll just copy and paste. Okay. So I'm making use of inline CSS. Sorry, internal CSS here. So the first thing, just like I said earlier, for the HTML elements to be able to display as a grid, you have to set the element to display grid, right? For HTML element to behave as grid, you have to set the display to grid, right? So the first thing you do is to grid container, right? Grid container. You put dots because it's a class, right? Say set it to display grid, right? So just like I said, you need to set it to display grid or inline grid. So I'll show you the difference between the two shortly. So let's say this is display grid, right? So let's see what we have. So this is what we have. So it's actually displayed grid. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I'm going to give it, let me close all this so that it won't distract us. So now I'm going to give it a grid template column. So this grid template column determines the number of column, right? The number of column the that will be displayed at once, right? The number of column in the first line, right? So that is what the grid template column means. So this is it, grid template columns, right? We have grid template rows, we have grid template columns. So now I'm going to, so if you want to do it, you can give it auto. So if you want everything to be the same size, right? If you want everything to be the same size, you just give it auto. It depends on the number of column you want to appear. Let's say we want it to appear, we have, I think 5 items, right? Is it five or six? One, two, three. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, five. So let's say we want it to have two column in first row, two columns in first row. So let's see. Okay, let me just give this what is it called? Let me give this background color. I'm giving it a background color of let's say this, right? So now I want to style the div now. So let me quickly style the div. I'll just copy. So you can use the name of the class, right? But I don't want to make use of the name of the class. Say div, because I'm giving them the same style, right? So So I'm also giving the items, like the div items, the background color of I don't know which one to use. Let me just use this, right? So and I'm giving the okay, let's see what we have before we proceed. So this is what we have, right? So we said we wanted this thing to be two columns. Yes, two columns. So we have the two columns here, one, two. So I'm going to give it a gap. So gap instead of margin, so you use gap here. I'm going to give it a gap of 10 pixels. So let's see what we have. So you can see. So we have two columns, right? So let's say I want it to be three columns. So I'll just add auto, another auto. So you see we have three columns. So let's say I want it to be four columns. So that means the same column with the same width and the same height. That is when you say column, sorry, auto, right? So, but if you want it to, let's say we want this one to be 100 pixel, you can also specify it, or let me just continue so that I won't, so let me just continue this way. So now we have the background color, right? So I'm giving it a padding. Let's say I'm giving it padding of 15 pixels, for instance. That is the text inside. So that is the text, right? I'm giving the text 15 pixels, padding of 15 pixels. So I have the padding of, so let me just give it 20 pixels to be more wider. You see that? So I say like we said, padding is creating space within an element, right? Within an element. So now I'm increasing the font size to, let's say, 20 pixels. Is it even necessary to increase the font size? Okay, I think it's better this way. So I'm going to align the text to be at the center. So align text, align, text align, text align, center. So, so this is what we have, right? So there's no need to increase the font size. So that is that about grid template property, right? So let's now say okay, let me just explain something to you. So this is column, right? And we also, you can, just like I said earlier, you can specify it. You can say The first one, I want it to be 80 pixels, or let's say 90 pixels, right? So let's see what the first column is. So you can see. So that is the first set of column. I want it to be 90 pixels. So you can see this is 90 pixels, right? So, and all these ones are still the same size. So let's say I want the second column to be 200 pixels. 200 pixels. So let's see what we have. So this is it. This is 200 pixels, right? So let's say I want the third column to be auto, while the fourth column is, let me see, 50 pixels. You can see it very small. So it depends on what you want to achieve. So this auto automatically consumed the rest of the spaces that these three columns supposed to have. So it's consumed it since we are setting it to auto uh, auto, right? So that is about grid row. So grid template columns present items vertically, right? So while the row presents items horizontally. So let's say we want to remove the okay. So I'm setting all this back to auto. I believe you already got what I was trying to explain there. I'm setting it back to auto. Right. So now let's look at what grid row is. So grid rows, right? I'm giving it 90 pixels, 250 pixels, right? So let's see what we have. So this is row, right? So now I gave the first, I said it presents the items horizontally, right? The first one, which is the column, presents it vertically, while the row property presents it horizontally, right? So this is the first 80 pixels, we gave. So it will present the first set of it to be 90 pixels, sorry. And we have the second set of it to be 250 pixels. So this is it. So that means the upper part of it will be smaller than the lower part of the column, right? But don't forget, this will still be there. The the column will still remain there, right? So I'm going to increase the number of items for you to see the effect of the row. So I'm going to increase it to 8 instead of 5. So we have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to copy from here to here. Right, you see the effect. So you can see. So I set the upper part, which is the upper part of the row. I set it to 90 pixels, while I set the lower part of the row to 250 pixels, and that's what we have here, right? And another thing we'll be talking about is justification. So I'm coming. So justification actually used to align the whole grid inside the container. So it will align all the grid, like all the grid items inside the grid container. So, we are still talking about the grid container, right? So let's say I want to add justify content. So there's justify content space evenly. We have justify content center. We have justify content start. We have justify content end, right? So now I want to justify the content evenly. So I'm going to take away this. Let me just comment this out, right? So we have our our column back. So we have it set to auto, right? So and in order to make it effective, like to make the justification effective, we have to make the you have to make the grid, like the grid items, much more smaller than the container. You know, this the items now filled in the container, but to to have, you know, just like I said that grid justification, we align the whole items, right? It will align the whole item in a container, right? And to make it more effective, like to see the effect of the justification, you have to make the column, like the template column, sorry, you have to make the whole item smaller than the container. So, and to do that, if you can set this to 50 pixels, sorry, 50 pixels, 50 pixels, 50 pixels, and 50 pixels, because we have four, right? You can see it has reduced the size. It has reduced the size because we want to justify it, right? So we want to justify it. So I just want us to see the effect of justification, right? So we are going to make use of justify. The first thing we are going to make use of is justify content. Sorry, justify content even space evenly. So let's see the effect of that. You can see space evenly means it should create space outside and inside the content, around the content, both outside and inside. You can see, right? So we also have justify content. We have justify content space around, space around, right? Let's see what we have. So you can see the space around. It's really has no like it has little effect on like the difference between space around and space evenly. It's just little, right? And we have space between. We have space between. So you can see space between is that it should create space between the items. But the other one, the first two we use, created spaces between and outside. That is round and evenly, right? So, but you can see the difference here. So that's when you want to create this thing. So justify content. Let's use start here. Justify content start. So it came back here. So let's say justify content end. So this is useful if you want to move a specific div content to one side or to be at the center. So this is end, right? Let's make use of center and see center. So you can see it's at the center now. So don't forget, justification is to justify content is to move, like in grid, right? Is to move the whole item inside a grid. Sorry, inside a grid container, to move it, to align it to one to the front, to the center, sorry, to the start, to the center, to the end, and to just move it around or create space in between them. But it will definitely affect all the items, all the item of that specific grid container, right? And to do that, you just to make use of the justify content, you just have to make the space of the items, like the width of the item, of the grid item, to be smaller than the screen size. That is the container, that is the grid container. It should be smaller than the grid container. So that is that. And the next thing we'll be talking about is align property. So Align property is used to vertically align the whole grid inside container. So it's vertically, this is horizontally, right? The justify content is horizontally. So it move it here, it move it here, it move it starts so you can create space evenly. But align is used to create to use to move the whole grid grid items inside a container, so it will present it vertically. This moves it horizontally. That is the justify content move it horizontally, but that of grid, sorry, that of alignment will move the property vertically. So let's quickly practicalize that. So now I'm going to give our container height of, let me say, 500 pixels. Let's see our height. So it's a bit okay. Let me quickly reduce the text for you to see the effect of what I'm trying to do. So I'm reducing the text. Let me quickly reduce that, because if not you may not really see the effect. So I'm just using the text generator because I have no content I want to add to it. So that's why I'm using this. I'm sorry. So I think we just have to just reduce this. This is the last one. Yeah. So let's see what we have. So this is what we have now, right? So let's say I'm still increasing the height of the container. Let me increase it more to, like, let me say 700 pixels. 700 pixels. So the height is increased to 700 pixels now, right? So so now we are still going to, so I'm taking back this to auto instead of the 50 pixels. Auto, auto, because they are four, right? So let's see what we have back. So this is what we have, right? So the next thing we are going to do is to give it the align content, right? So let me use 400 pixels. 400 pixels. So okay, so we have it, right? So let me remove this justify content, right? So now I'm going to use a align content. Align content. Let me say center. So align content center. So I said it presents items vertically, right? So the other one presented it horizontally. So you can see all of them are at the center. So let me just reduce it to 6 so that you can see it very well. I'm reducing it to 6 so that you can see the effect. Okay, but this is still 4, so that is why it's still presenting it as 4. So this is still 4. So let me reduce it. Okay, you can see it now. So it's 3 now, right? So let me give my container padding of 10 pixels. Padding of 10 pixels. So let's see what we have. So okay. So now so you've seen the center, right? I believe you see the align content center. So let's say align content space evenly. This two has space evenly. space evenly. You can see everything. So space evenly, you can see how it created the space evenly from the top and inside, just like it did the justify content. So let's say space between. So just like I said, there's no much difference. Okay. Yeah. So space between is just to create space. You know, the first one we use evenly. So it's created it at the top and at the middle, right? And at the bottom also. But space between is just to create space in between the items, right? In between the columns, like the rows of column. Sorry, in between the list of the set of columns, sorry. So now it created it in between the set of the columns, like vertically spaced, right? So that's what row space between is. So let's say space let's say we have space around, right? So this is what space around is. You can see. So you can just try at your own this thing. So let's say space start. Just check out all these things. So space start. So and you can also say space end. Sorry, start, not space start. Sorry about that. Start. So you can see vertically start there was space. So let me say end now. You can see at the end. So it has a space also. So that is all about grid container. So in the next video, that is the part two of this video, I'm going to talk about the grid items. So thank you.